Hello and welcome to Weird World Weekly. And my soundboard is all jangy. Jangy, is that the word? Jangly? Jittery?
I've heard janky, jangy, a couple other ones that we probably can't say.
It's being weird. I'm Dave Nelson and that is Matt Stein. Hello, Matt.
Howdy, Dave.
This is the show where we talk about the weird, the odd, the strange, the unusual for about 15 minutes or less. And uh, the topics come from the subjects of paranormal, myth, conspiracy theories, or a category that we called the grab bag. Under the weird happening every once in a while where we live in our house.
I don't know if you've stopped talking, but your
Uh,
video has stopped and I can't hear you anymore.
Weird things have been of them all. Sudden, hello,
Now I can hear you.
hello.
Kinda, you're cutting in and out.
Can
Your
you
video.
hear me?
Now I can. And now you're froze again.
Hang on.
Uh,
I'm gonna re. I'm gonna do this. Hang on.
Oh, now I can hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, your video's back too.
Okay. All right. Well, my computer's been getting slower and slower as we've gone on, so maybe that's part of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this was the first we've really had any problems, so.
Okay. So what I was talking about is something weird happened in our house recently where all of a sudden my wife looks over and sees crayon marks in the wall. Not like words or anything, nothing written out, but just crayon marks. And we're like, that's kind of weird. And other things have happened. We've heard noises. Th- Things have not like floating in the air, but things have like fallen off places that you wouldn't think they'd fall off from, that kind of thing. So we think that there's something going on. And then to top off all that, our daughter's outside with her boyfriend at the time, and one of the neighborhood kids comes up to her and says, "You know, somebody died in that house," or "You know, some kid died in that house." And we're like, "Whoa, that's kind of weird."
Oh. Yeah, I didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah. So
Huh.
yeah, we're put off a little bit, but nothing bad has happened, nothing mischievous, or to think that we're unwanted here. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the best you can hope for.
And apparently, your dogs hear something weird in your house. That's why they're
Uh,
barking.
my wife actually just finally came home, so this
Oh,
will go on for about another minute, and then they'll stop.
all right. So let's spin the the word. What is it?
The weird wheel of weekly weirdness.
Okay, we'll call it that this time. Here we
Sure.
go. All right, what is it gonna land on here? Could be anything: paranormal, conspiracy, mythological, or the grab bag. Who knows?
I'm hoping it's
It's just
potato
kind of
salad.
interesting. All right, stopping, slowing down. All right.
Grab bag.
All right. Let's start the timer and get this thing going. Grab bag could be anything under the weird umbrella. If it's weird, and if it doesn't fit the other categories, that's where we put it, the grab bag. So the top weirdest CIA programs. You're familiar with the Central Intelligence Agency, right?
You know it.
Clandestine government agency. They work for the security and the safety of of the United States of America in this world against our enemies, and over the years, they've had some pretty weird programs to try to achieve those goals. And this list had about, I believe, 10 or so, and I picked the good ones off this list.
Mhm.
So, and you were talking about this story. You said that you liked the acoustic kitty one the best.
Yeah, because I mean the picture that goes along with it on the website was kind of funny because it's just like this nice looking cat, and they're like, "Oh, we're just gonna run a bunch of wires around its head and down its back," and you take this like everyday normal animal and turn it into a weapon, essentially.
Super spy.
Yeah, super
Yeah.
super
So
spy.
that's basically what it is. Is back in the 60s, of course, the middle of the Cold War, our number one enemy was Russia or the Soviet Union, and they took a group of specially trained cats and surgically implanted microphones, antenna, and batteries into their tails, and then set them loose near the Russian embassy. So the idea was basically that an unassuming cat would be able to, walk up to groups of communist officials and basically listen to what they were talking about, and then beam that conversation back to headquarters, the CIA headquarters somewhere. And it sounds like it could work, maybe. I don't know, a little bit crazy, but it's got the potential of working. Well, the first time that they let one of these cats out, it gets hit by a truck and dies. So that was that for that program. That was the end of Acoustic Kitty. Did it live up to your expectations, Matt?
I didn't know about the end. I knew about the concept and what it was supposed to do, but I didn't realize that they were just like, "Here you go," and then just boom, Acoustic Kitty died.
Let's stay on the subject of animals. Project Pigeon. What do you think that is? Without looking at our document, our Google Doc, what do you think Project Pigeon is?
I would assume it's going to be similar to Acoustic Kitty, just with pigeons instead of a cat.
Well, you'd be wrong. Basically, they put pigeons inside a missile, and the pigeons, using their homing ability, basically steered the thing. So during World War II, famed behavioral psychologist I've heard of the guy. I don't know if you have.
Mm-hmm.
B.F. Skinner was enlisted by the government to try to train pigeons for use in a missile guidance system. Skinner placed a series of specially trained pigeons inside missiles. A camera on the front of the missile recorded its flight path, which was then projected on a screen for the pigeon to see. So I guess they're not using their homing ability.
No, the pigeon's supposed to watch.
Yeah. The bird, they're aiming the thing. That's scary. The birds were trained to recognize the missile's intended target, and they would peck at the screen if it was drifting off course.
Get out of here.
No, I'm serious. This information was fed to the weapon's flight controls, which would then be changed to reflect the new coordinates. Skinner was originally given $25,000 to get the project up and running, and he actually managed to make some minor progress with it, but officials were never quite able to get past the obvious absurdity of the program, and it was eventually shut down.
Probably a good decision.
Yeah. So my favorite part of these is the names. There's some great names. Good example, Operation Midnight Climax.
Sounds like an adult film.
Well, it kind of is sort of a sexual thing. So back in the 60s again, U.S. government at war, Cold War with the Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the beginning of the whole youth culture in America. Kids, teenagers, young adults experimenting with hallucinogenic drugs like LSD. And so was, it turns out, the Central Intelligence Agency. Operation Midnight Climax was run out run out of a collection of safe houses in New York and California. And here's where the sex comes in. Prostitutes were used to lure young men to the houses, at which point they were given food or drink spiked with LSD and other drugs and placed in a room with a two-way mirror where their behavior could be observed.
Wow.
You know, after doing the research on this story, it really made me realize how big of bastards the U.S. government is. They're just playing with people all the time.
And they seem to spend money on the dumbest stuff.
Yeah. But you have to remember, too, Matt, that at the time that all this stuff was going on, we were desperate to find out anything about the Soviets.
That's true. I mean, you know, what is that? 50 years ago, 55 years ago, there was a lot going on, a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. So Midnight Climax was essentially an experimental program designed to monitor the possible tactical uses of psychotropic drugs and sexual blackmail in the field. But even within the agency, it was controversial and was shut down only after a few years. But that wasn't the first time that we used drugs, that the CIA used drugs. There's also this thing called the Stargate Project. What do you think that was, Matt?
My initial thought when I read this was that it was going to be some sort of time travel or teleportation, but no. Now thinking this through, that this was probably closer to the 60s and 70s, I first attributed to the movie Stargate.
Yes.
So that was my guess.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's not like a portal onto another planet using a wormhole. That's not what this was. The Stargate Project was basically a blanket term used to describe a large number of psychic experiments. Now, this is not drugs. The next one is drugs. This is just basically psychics. Remember that movie about the fainting goats? Fainting goats was in the title.
The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Yeah, The Men Who Stare at Goats. That was about this type of program, remote viewing. Mm-hmm. It's where people can actually see or think they can see what's going on across the world. So it's basically another way of spying on the Soviets.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And that's what Stargate Project was. It was like that was the blanket term for all these programs to find our super spies with their psychic ability. And it was eventually shut down because the averages, they were wrong more times than they were right, although there were some people that could actually remote view. Now, this last CIA program is one that you may have heard about. It's called MK Ultra. Does that ring a bell?
It does not, actually.
Okay. All right. Some people it may. It's probably one of the most well-known of this type of project. Started in the early 1950s. It included experiments in chemical interrogation and mind control. So it was the government's aim to use drugs like LSD and psychotropics, again, to alter the behavior and turn private citizens into like a not a spy, but like a brainwashed zombie assassin. At least that's what the conspiracy theorists think that it was about.
Fair enough.
But they used the drugs to try to figure out if they could like dictate the behavior of everyday citizens.
Mm-hmm.
MK Ultra was the name of that one. But you know what, Matt? It's just weird.
It is. And it's more weird how much the government used LSD in the 60s to like try and test people. Like of these, I mean, I didn't read all 10 of them, but 2 you talked about were focused on the use of LSD for, mind control or behavioral patterns, things like that. That's thanks, government.
Yeah, and it's so funny because they sound so far-fetched that they sound like crazy movies, right?
Uh-huh. Yep. And this stuff really happened, but
It really, really happened. Maybe some of this stuff is exaggerated a little bit, but the basic truth is there that they tried these things, and
Yes.
for most of the things, they didn't work, so they stopped them. But they at least tried. Our
Hmm.
government is a bunch of triers. We try things. It may not work, but at least we give it a go.
Yeah, we're a bunch of tryhards.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Weird World Weekly. So if your behavior starts changing, you can blame the CIA for that. Maybe
And
they're
LSD.
yeah. Check the food. Check whatever you're drinking or eating for that LSD, because it could be the CIA. GalacticNetcasts.com is our website. Go there and find out more about this show and others that we have on the network. We've got links to our subscriptions. You can subscribe to their show through links on the website. Also, we've got links to our social networks, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. Email galacticnetcasts@gmail.com suggestions of stories that you want us to talk about, or call our voicemail number 805-328-3966. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Weird World Weekly. Until next time, Matt, what do we want to do?
We want to keep it weird, Dave.
Yes, we'll talk to you later. Hang on, let me stop this. Gotta find the right window here. All right.